Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the lateness. Unfortunately, just had some computer issues, but here we are. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes for everybody to attend. I shouldn't be too long. So bear with me. I'll pop you on a little bit of a mute while we get others to attend. I won't be long, thank you. All right, lovely. Let's just get started. Those that attend. So first and foremost, I'm just going to share my screen. So welcome everyone to today's webinar. So again, my name is Justin Ishac, Senior Investment Manager here at ShareWise. And before we proceed, I'm just going to get started with the boring stuff, as you all love to hear it. Obviously the disclaimers. So this is all general advice only. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. Seek independent financial advice before investing. The information provided here today is purely for education purposes. Okay? So again, thank you for attending. And today we're going to be referring to win big with leverage. Today's webinar. So recently, we've taken quite a few trades as of late that have been very successful for clients, and I'm going to break down exactly what we've done to assist our clients essentially outperform the market during what was such a volatile time. Okay. Now, at the end of the webinar, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to pop them in the question box as well, and I'd be happy to answer as well. All right. So win big with leverage. So I'm going to also walk you through the trade itself that we've taken, show you what the results are. You're going to see screenshots of the actual performance as it relates to the stocks that we obviously purchased in client portfolio as well, with the permission of that client as well, obviously. So what's possible with tactical leverage? The first thing that's most important is understanding what thematic you really want to be allocating your capital to when you are making a tactical shift. Okay. So with me, with client portfolios as of late, we've been really looking at that quantum computing, semiconductor technology, AI space. And if you've attended my previous webinars, you guys would have also witnessed me look at a few different opportunities in that space, which I discussed on another webinar, and that was spot on, right? We hit the ball right out of the park in some of these trades. So QBTS was one, which I'll go through with you. That's D-Wave Quantum, TSLL, which is a leveraged bull ETF on Tesla. Okay. Palantir, so PLTU, which is basically a leveraged position on Palantir, and AMDL, which is a leveraged position on AMD. Okay. So essentially, those were some of the trades taken out of, let's just say, a large number of other trades. Okay, it was an excellent, let's just say, run we had on the board with these recommendations in that sector. So this is a question that I get a lot of the time, Justin. How do I sort of have conviction in getting into these style recommendations? Now, where most traders fail is there's no structure, there's no system, the decisions are quite emotional, and there's a lack of risk management. So if you're looking at your portfolio and you're wondering, how am I going to outperform this market? I think the first question you need to ask yourself is, am I entering correctly? Do I have the right risk mitigation in place? Am I making emotional decisions? And do I have a structure? Do I have a process to follow to take a risky trade or a growth opportunity that is currently looking as though it's had enough of a run, or it's pulling back? Is it going to go lower, right? So the point here is, where most traders or where most investors for growth fail is a lack of conviction based on no structure, no system, emotional decisions, and poor risk management. Okay. So here at ShareWise, my job as a senior investment manager here is to help clients get sniper entries. Okay. And we're going to show you how. I'm going to show you how I do this. And at the end of the webinar, if you want to go through and discuss a particular stock that I'm going to maybe give you a bit of a heads up on at the end of the webinar, if I'm feeling a little generous today, we might discuss a trade opportunity as well if I put the time. Okay. So obviously, sniper entries, volume confirmation, coaching and accountability is what we do with clients to help them understand what to do during those times. Tactical leverage with control is very important, and we'll go through all that. So the core strategy broken down, right, is essentially VWAP, which is essentially the volume weighted average price on stock. And I'm going to show you this on a chart so you can see it for yourself as well. But VWAP and a moving average crossover with RSI divergence and high volume. Okay. When you put all that together, you get an excellent return with a fixed sort of stop, maybe even a trailing logic, depending on the stock itself. And we'll go through that. So the tactical breakdown of the positions we've taken, in this last, let's say, successful buy zone that we have had is QBTS, IonQ, and Rigetti. This was quantum and AI. And then for stable growth, we've also looked at CRM, Microsoft, Google. In terms of, sort of buys that we've taken that have absolutely outperformed the market for clients, that's namely TQQQ, which is a leveraged ETF on the NASDAQ. PLTU, I've already mentioned. SOXL is a leveraged ETF on the semiconductor space, okay, or the SOX index, others refer to it as. TSWL, already mentioned that. AMDL, already mentioned that earlier. And then TNA, which is a leveraged ETF on small cap stocks in the US as well. So what you want to be mindful here is this is not advice to go and buy them today, okay? What I'm trying to say is I've done tactical assessments and obviously purchases with clients that have accepted the risk, and we've outperformed the market significantly. Okay. And so my breakdown here is when you're looking at tactical allocation, you need to make sure you're entering correctly using technicals as well. All right. So we've got a bit of a case study for QBTS here. It's an estimated sort of return was about 157% thereabouts. Entry was near 670. Pre-breakout on a volume weighted average price reclamation and a break above with a moving average crossover and an RSI that was heading into the, let's say, bullish trend zone. Okay. So the outcome on the position was 150% return roughly. Obviously some a little less, depending on where the client was open to take profit on or not, right? But effectively, the tactical ETF strategy is there to hopefully help clients outperform when we're looking at outperforming markets during periods of excessive sell-offs, right? And I guess the point here is if you're buying the stock at a particular time and it's a growth stock and it's not a dividend play, you should be buying it with conviction, right? So my philosophy here is, well, if that's the case, I can maximize my results for my clients. So we took a bit of risk, right? Gave the general advice to take some, let's just say, risky trades. By the way, that should read PLTU, my apology. But it worked. So some of these are 2 to 3x leverage, And this is just some amongst many others that we've taken. These are some of the key examples of some of the investment moves. Confirmed breakouts only is what we take, and we scale in based on confidence of the trade as well. Okay, and we target that throughout the momentum of the trade. So this is an example of the client portfolio. As you can see, we've got some significant profits here in our trades. So effectively, we're looking at about, you can see, about a 10% return or movement in a day. Sorry, but the return here is about 5%. D-Wave Quantum, as you can see here, 158% return, $19,000 returned. That's impressive, right? Ion Q, 17,000 return, 80% return almost. Okay, phenomenal stuff there. Meta, there's Microsoft, Nvidia, Rigetti, Tesla. The bull shares, PLTR, 81%, 43%, which is TQQQ, 13% on Amazon bull shares. So I think the results here speak for themselves, right? This is probably, let's just say, one of those tactical plays that really paid off for clients. Obviously, those with the capital, those with the ability to take the risk were willing to, and you can see the results were fantastic. Okay. So this is the actual trades taken, right? You can see here on the 10th of April, buying. But the ones I really want to focus on were ones that were just significantly excellent entries. PLTR, 2x bull shares, 200 units at $29.20 US. Okay. Tesla, 259. I mean, TQQQ, you can read them all, but I really wanted to highlight essentially Tesla 1, 2. So we scaled in on confirmation a couple of times. There we go. Sorry, it's taking a bit of time to move on. So, and then Ion Q again, 2632. D-Wave Quantum, 728 again. 945, Rigetti, right? Tesla again, 23rd of April. Another 25 units, another 10 grand. Scaling again at 670. Scaled in again. Nvidia, scaled in again, right? Now, some of the ones we've locked in profit, you could see here, PLTR, 100 units, $57.29. Boom. Cost price, gone. D-Wave Quantum, $11.30. Took a bit of profit off the table, but it's done really well, right? So some fantastic results. I guess the next thing to really go through here is why now, right? Some people are sort of questioning, scratching their heads, saying, well, hasn't this already happened? The move's already done now, right? The answer is no, okay? Because there is always an opportunity in this market, and you need to be aligned with the right advisors, the right advice to really consider entering some of these sort of asymmetric trades. And we can help you do that. I'd love to go through a strategy with anyone that wants to. So at the end of the webinar, you're more than welcome to accept our poll suggestions, and we can go from there, which is basically in relation to working together. Okay, so why now? Well, AI, quantum, and semiconductors, they are leading the new bull cycle. So if you think technology will no longer be innovating, if you think that technology will no longer be improved over time, you're wrong, right? And the reality is those that capture the right stocks in this environment are the ones that are going to reap the benefit in the long term, okay? Another thing is we've got US fiscal policy, which is also positive for markets. Again, this is going to create a little bit more confidence to the economy as well. Some have argued that that would raise the debt ceiling as well, and that's a fair comment, and it very well would, right? So I guess there's another argument to the other side of that, which is essentially that tariffs could also be a way to offset that as well, right? Now, does that mean that's going to happen? I mean, I don't know, right? But the reality here is Typically, when the government stimulates the economy, that's a positive for markets as well, right? Now, there's always a misconception when I speak with clients on the phone all the time. It's too volatile, Justin. There's just too much volatility. It's a common theme amongst investors. This is false because this thought process is false. Of course, it's volatility. Excuse me. What I'm trying to really say here is you can't get quality results without volatility. So you need to know where and when and how to execute on that. And that's where we come in. Okay. We've got a private client group that I'm running this month for the end of financial year, obviously, with trade alerts, coaching, portfolio reviews, live market calls, essentially. And so if you want to be a part of that, I'd be very, very happy to go through what that looks like as well on a phone conversation. Now, what I'm going to do, ladies and gents, is I'm just going to very quickly share my screen so we can just dissect the trades, and I'll take you through the movements. So excuse me. All right, here we go. Perfect. Back up there. Excellent. Oops, sorry. All right, so you should be able to see my screen there. Is that correct? If you could just type maybe a Y for yes in the chat box to make sure that you can see the screen, because for whatever reason, it's not showing me. Yep, beautiful. Thank you, Hudson. Lovely. Appreciate that. Okay, thank you, Chris. Lovely, thank you. Okay, so I will answer your question, by the way, those that have asked to join the private trader group, and we'll go through that shortly towards the end. Not a problem. Okay, guys, thank you. So, I just took profit on this today. Sorry, so this is up right now for clients. Bought it in and around this level as well. There's some of those that bought, but okay. So here we are. Spaghetti. Okay. Well, let's go with QBTS. So you can see here, this is significantly outperformed the market, right, over the period of the purchase. So we entered, this was my confirmational consolidational zone, which I was buying and recommending it for clients to buy. So effectively, what we saw here was a bull flag or a consolidation occurring due to the tariff concerns and such. And then obviously, trend is your friend. Okay, guys. I don't know. A lot of people think, well, I don't really believe in charts. I just want fundamentals, and that's fine. Okay. But let's be honest, if you're not actually understanding how to interpret a chart when you're trading, well, you're never going to get an edge on the market, even if you're a fundamental investor. So as a fundamental investor, you still want to get good entries. I mean, if you entered most stocks at the wrong time, you're never going to be doing very well, period, right? The best investors in the world globally are tactical. They don't just go in and buy a stock because they like it, right? They don't do that. They do wait for the opportunity, or they take advantage of what they're seeing at that moment as well, right? So keep that in mind. Now you can see here we had a bit of a consolidational move whereby we saw significant pullback come through from a very strong high of 1250 back in March, right? But if you have a look at this, it's really interesting what's happened here. You had a bit of a sell-off and then a very strong candle with volume come through here, and that pushed the RSI up, as you can see. And then we started seeing a bit of a range-bound move, okay? So what we started to see was the trend, and if you've watched some of my previous webinars about patterns and noticing when something is breaking a downtrend, You can see here that we had a shift in momentum, a significant shift in momentum or sentiment, right? So what we saw was the price essentially create a higher high, then a higher low, then start to consolidate, right? Higher low, higher high, consolidation, 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 higher high, higher low, higher high, right? That's what you saw. So within this period, the way you want to identify this is obviously you want to get it to be creating higher highs. Now, quantum computing is a thematic I've been tracking for a while. So because of that, I'm also aware of when we should be looking at entries as well. So whenever you're looking at trading a stock in a particular theme, if it's a high frequency trade, you need to understand the market as well and the sentiment around it. So with quantum computing, there's been a lot of, let's just say, emphasis on larger scale businesses like your Microsofts, like your Googles, sort of really take quantum computing seriously, and they're investing a lot of money there at the moment. So that gave us quite a bit of an indication that we should be looking at this area. Now, in and around this period of consolidation, we saw a nice engulfing bullish candle here, indicating buy volume is picking up in and around this level. So from this low, we get a consolidation move, and then a move back down to the low, and then a buy back in at this low. So what we're seeing when we look at this is this area is acting as a very strong level of support at this time, right? So essentially what I was looking for here was a breakout above, let's just say 54 on the RSI, with a continuation to hold above this low, that $6 low. And that's what we saw. So, I took a couple of different trades, but obviously, let's just say we go back to the ones that taken. I think it was in and around here, right? Which pushed well above the divergence of the RSI, exited that, and about to cross over to that territory. So buying here, waiting, buying here again, holding up, and then we had an explosive move to the upside. The earnings result was excellent, and we saw a nice move to 17 roughly now, right? So here we're watching this very closely. Could very well still consolidate at the moment. So, we've got a potential sell action to come here again. That could come through. But right now, I guess the reality is we've already locked in quite a bit of profit here for clients, to be fair. So we're just watching to see what the next move is before really taking the action, right? But that's obviously QBTS as an example. Now, if we go through some of the others, which was it PLTU, okay? So obviously this is going to track Palantir, right? So if we go to Palantir, and if you remember, look, my drawings are still here from the previous webinars as well as a potential low, right? And you can see we broke out here multiple occasions on this trade for Palantir. So similar sort of story, okay? Very quickly, previous low reached with an engulfing bullish candle. And then we broke out of the recent structure that was on the downtrend right there with this engulfing bullish candle, indicating again that we should be looking at a potential long position here, right? And that was taken. And that's now up 52%, but on the entries from the vast majority of clients with PLTU, which is the leveraged ETF, we done from about 29 to 58, thereabouts. Pretty impressive, right? So that was essentially from in and around this level, right up here. 96%, as you can see. Okay. On the Aussie market, which I'm going to quickly show you as well, we took a few other trades, but I didn't mention them in the presentation. I thought I will just show you. Oh, I've left it there. Perfect. So PME, Pro Medicus, and now sitting at a very strong supply zone. So I have taken some profit off the table here for clients at the moment already, but I will be watching this to get another entry potentially. But you can see here in terms of return, we entered, sorry, it was up there. The entry was actually in and around here. We'll take, and we took profit in and around this level. About a 34% return. Okay. Some bought a little earlier that were willing to take extra risk, but the average is about a 35% return of the trade here as well on PME. And then, if you also take a look at some of the other positions like Seek, which we're up on a little bit now as well, been locking in a bit of profit on that. That looks like that's coming back. And there was also West Gold and Northern Star, the gold, which we've taken a bit of profit off the top for some, and others are happy to hold. And then Northern Star as well for gold. So, that's also looking like that's going to consolidate a little bit here too. But, still looking quite good for the longer term. That amongst a lot of others, which, was taken for clients, we've really knocked the ball right out of the park for a few different trades. And I guess I gave you a bit of insight on how, I do sort of look and taking these trades. But there's a lot more depth in doing this, obviously. This is just a very brief rundown. And again, if you want access to working with me, there is a cost of working with me on the advisory side and my private client trader group. And what I'm going to do right now is, because it's almost 11:30, we do need to be a little short, is I'll go through essentially what the poll is. And is there any other questions as well before I proceed? Anybody has any questions, you can pop them in the chat as well. So I've just launched a poll for you all to answer. Now, good question. I'm not sure who asked it for whatever reason. The attendee is anonymous. So look, you can join the private trader group. You're more than welcome to. We can obviously facilitate some buy opportunities and work through different strategies as well. Now, there is a few different methods in terms of costing to work with me on the advisory side and in relation to the way we operate for cost. So, there's yearly, there's a multi-year and a 3-year, obviously, that we can look at with general advice, expert research, fundamental analysis, technical breakdowns, and one-on-one strategy sessions as well, all within the general advice model. Okay, so effectively, we're looking at we're getting a price lift in the next financial year. Okay, so I'll just give you the 12-month, but essentially that's going to be increasing next financial year because of the returns we've gotten for clients. This will be moving higher. Okay, so essentially, it's usually $2,500 to work with us for 12 months, and you get everything that I've just mentioned: domestic and international workshops and recommendations, trades, live trade calls, in-market calls, portfolio reviews, fundamental and technical analysis of stocks as well. Okay. Now, in the next financial year, this is going to be $3,500 roughly for 12 months. And if you want to go through a multi-year deal, we can also do that. That actually saves you a lot of money, by the way. So I'd be happy to discuss that with you as well. Thank you so much for attending, ladies and gentlemen. I do need to keep this at 30 minutes, and I'm sorry I was a little bit late. I do have a lot of clients to call today in relation to the market. The market's on a bit of fire right now, so I do need to get back on the floor and have a chat with other clients at the moment. It's 11:30. Thank you so much for attending. If you want to work with me, you will do well. And obviously, we will manage risk as best we can together, or with general advice. And I hope to speak with you shortly. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.